Hi there, only here, coming at you with a video, recording two of these at the same time. Just as I finish that last one, I thought I'll throw in with this one. I have seen people talk about role-playing sessions where they say that it should be so much of a percentage of exploration, so much of a percentage of roleplay, so much a percentage of combat per session. And those percentages change, but I've seen it averaged that they think it should be pretty much even, or to go by fractions, 1/3 each. Which, if you go with that, if you're doing a 3-hour game, which would amount to 1 hour of combat, 1 hour of exploration, 1 hour of roleplay. Now, that's mixed in together. That's not, let's have our combat hour and then let's, not separate, but, in total over a session. I hate this idea. I hate it for a number of reasons. Well, number is odd, kind of thing. I hate it for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I hate the notion of an arbitrary division of roleplay, exploration, and combat. I hate this notion that you have to have this absolute amount in every session. Personally, I like the story to dictate how much. Now, when I say the story, the players interacting with that story will decide a lot. They'll reach a point where, we're going to go this way. And they'll be exploring an area. They might find themselves in a new town, starting to get a lay of the land, lots of role play. They may find themselves in a combat situation, but I'm not going to arbitrarily set up, we haven't had a combat this session, better arbitrarily throw in one. No, boring. Not only boring, I think it affects the flow of the game. The story should happen organically. Combat should happen when it happens. I've been known to run, at Settlers. First time I ran True 20 actually, was a horror game. And it was 3 and a bit sessions. First combat at the start of the full session actually involved a TPK. But the first 3 sessions, and they're about 3 hours each, was exploring this town and role-playing. And because it was a horror game, I was really pushing for the atmosphere of the game. Getting that sense of dread of not quite feeling comfortable in this town, being unsure of themselves, and just slowly ramping up the paranoia and the terror. The combat, when it came, was originally intended to be a bit of a sort of kind of a release valve. But when it happened, the combat happened organically. It happened because that was the right place in the story, the right set of circumstances, because of the choices that the characters had made, the players had made in the game, and everything had built, and the momentum of the story that was being unfolded got to that point where an altercation happened. Didn't go the player's way, but But so as I say, the two reasons being I have a real problem with arbitrary amounts. The second reason is I'm not a big fan of combat in games. I find them fiddly and time consuming, and I can't be arsed with them. I'm much more interested in roleplay, investigation, exploration, learning about your immediate surroundings and dealing with the people there. Obviously, sometimes combat happens, and if it happens, then it happens. But I'm not a big fan of it. It's why I've never been a big fan of dungeon crawls. To the point where I'm going to run a game for Free RPG Day, and it's going to be a game of Toon, where essentially I'm going to just take the mickey out of dungeon crawls for 3 hours, because quite frankly they deserve to be taken the mickey out of. But what I despise is this notion that you have to have these rigid amounts. However, there is a but. That only works ultimately if you have players who are fine with that style of game, who want a very role-play, exploration, investigation, heavy, combat light game. And if they are someone who doesn't like, who really wants action, then one of two things has to happen. Either they have to change their expectations or the GM does. And if that can't happen, if neither of them can, then, one of them's not going to have to do it. Either somebody else GMs that group, or, the people who have a problem go find another group. So this is why session 0 becomes really important, where you're sort of setting out your stall as to the kind of game you like to run. I'm going to be running a sci-fi game. I've decided I'm running True 20. I'm going to run a game set in the Reign of Discordia setting. I've got to do my homework now and really make sure it works. But I know the kind of game I want to run. I don't want to make it a particularly combat heavy game. I'm not. I want to run the kind of big, expansive sci-fi game, big space opera style game that entices me, that interests me, and I hope that I can inject that enthusiasm into the game, and hopefully the players will get enthused as well. I'm hoping that the story, the plot will intrigue them, the characters will interest them, and they'll find the world the kind of the galaxy, universe, and everything that we're dealing with, will entice them to get out there and explore, and it's all about setting up a few hooks and seeing what happens. But I'm hoping it will work. I think that's been my real worry, is player expectation versus what I like as a GM. Because games I've run before for the Parageeks 2 channel have tended to be slightly lighter, a bit more tongue-in-cheek, a bit silly. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I want to kind of do the sort of game that I like to run, and really sort of, for want of a term, flex my GMing muscles a bit. But what are your thoughts about these arbitrary, every session you must do this much roleplay, this much exploration, this much combat? Or do you, like me, feel that the story that's being told through the characters and the GM's plot and the characters interacting and everything, that interactions, be they social, be they political, be they, combat, should flow organically, that there shouldn't be we're going to have an encounter. And see where it goes, because that's fun. I think that's fun for the players, because they feel that they're not being driven down any particular route. And I think it's fun for the GM, because the players might come up with a different solution. They might enter into a situation you thought was going to be a verbal negotiation. They just blast everyone. Or they walk into what the GM maybe thought was going to be a combat, and they end up talking everyone down. Those are interesting, and they happen naturally for the characters. And they're surprising for the GM, so it's fun for everyone. And that's the way I like it. So let me know what you think. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll be back with another video.